my guest is Professor Harzing. I'll keep my introduction short to maximize our time with her. In the next 30 minutes or so, we'll talk about Anvil as a person, Professor Harzing as a thought leader and an esteemed scholar, and finally as a mentor to many PhD students and junior faculty. Thank you, Anvil, for joining us.
Very happy to be here, Ilgaz. It's really a great service you're providing to the IB community.
Anvil, first, let's talk about your background. What did you want to become when you were a child?
That's a wonderful question to start with. And I must admit, I knew you were going to ask this question, so I thought about it. And I can't really recall any thoughts about this when I was young. So my professional role models, I think they really started when I discovered reading, because I love reading books, and I started quite early with reading, and I absolutely adored the Big Five detective stories by Enid Blyton. I don't know whether they're known at all in the US, but they were very popular in the Netherlands when I grew up. And I wanted to be Dickie, who was one of the boys, and he was the one who always came up with the smart ideas to solve the puzzle and to solve the crime. So I really wanted to be a detective when I first started reading. But then in my teens, I think kind of gender conditioning really caught up with me, because somehow I realized I couldn't be a detective as a girl. So I thought I could be a librarian because I loved books, so I could be among books all the time. So that was one thing I wanted to be in my teens, but also I really liked at some stage chemistry, which was a kind of a puzzle to me as well. So I imagined myself being in a laboratory with a white coat and doing all these tests. So three different things really, but I thought later, when I thought about it, detective, librarian, analyst, that's an academic. So I think actually I wanted to maybe be an academic from an early age. I just didn't know it.
And how do you choose IB in academia?
I guess in my case, I listened to quite a few of the interviews, and everyone seemed to have this clear plan about being an international business academic. In my case, I must admit, it was pure chance. It could have been something very different, because I did, first of all, I did a professional degree in business and languages. So I had an interest in languages, which is kind of international. And there was a professional degree because I wasn't quite sure about going to university, because nobody in my family had gone to university. So I started with a professional degree first, and then I went on to do another degree, another 4-year degree, and that was in international business in Maastricht, at Maastricht University. So I was interested in international business, clearly, but I also worked as a student assistant and a student tutor, student research assistant, and I really liked that. So then after I graduated, I of course needed to start applying for jobs, but I still had no idea what I wanted to be. So I was able to get some freelance work through my master's supervisor at the Open University. The Open University in the Netherlands, and they asked me to write a course plan and edit a book on international human resource management. So that's the textbook that you referred to earlier, and that's that book. I made a course plan with individual chapters, and there was one book, one chapter on headquarter subsidiary relationships. But I couldn't find anyone to write it. So I thought I'd write it myself, because I'd already done a literature review in the area. And I liked it so much that I decided to do a PhD on the topic. And I like doing a PhD. I like being in academia. So I ended up in academia as an IB academic.
About something that is not on your CV that people might find interesting.
Well, I guess one thing that is not on your CV, you can see behind me. This is something not a lot of people know about me, but now with online meetings, it's usually the first thing they notice, my yellow walls. I really like having bright colors in my home. And even though I'm not creative, I do like painting walls. So I've painted walls in my various homes in all sorts of bright colors. And I must have painted over 60 rooms in the last 30 years, mostly in yellow. In the end, we settled on yellow as a nice sunny color, and especially in the UK, where it can sometimes be gloomy. It's nice and bright. And there's another thing, and for this interview, I put my favorite London Underground poster in the background, because I'm absolutely fascinated by the London Underground, and I have loads of books about it. I love visiting underground stations, and I just find this combination of transport and transport history, social history, but also the architecture of the stations, and both inside and outside, and the whole idea of how the underground helped London develop as a city. I find that utterly fascinating. So I'm really happy that I live close to London now.
Very interesting. If you stop doing what you're doing today, what's the second best alternative career path for you?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I came into academia almost by accident, but I think it's the best possible career for me. So if I have to think about something else, it would probably still be academia, but a different discipline. I'm really fascinated by history and historical artifacts. So something like paleontology or archaeology are kind of disciplines that I think I would have been quite happy in as well. And if I couldn't be an academic, I would still probably want to be in a university. So then maybe a research librarian, one of my early choices, or maybe working in research management as a professional support person. So I think I've really found my home in academia.
What are you most proud of?
I guess, to be honest, it's not one of my academic publications. I'm proud of some of the publications. Well, I'm proud of most of the publications I've done in some way, because otherwise I wouldn't have written them. But I'm most proud of other things I've done outside publishing and my research, and that's two things really: the Publish or Perish software, which has been available on my website now for the last 15 years. And I've really been amazed at how many academics are using it. There's probably over 1 million academics and students all over the world using it now. And I'm so pleased to see that it started out in Australia, because I lived in Australia at the time, and then of course the US, the UK, Europe. But now there are so many users in countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Brazil, Turkey, even African countries. So I really feel that I'm helping academics and students in countries where they don't have access to all of these library resources, to still be able to get citation data, do literature review. So that's kind of one area. But the other thing I'm really kind of passionate about is the Women's Network. I've set up 7 years ago when I moved back to the UK. It's called SIGNA, and SIGNA is kind of a Latin name for SWAN, and SWAN is Supporting Women Academic Network. But we thought we couldn't use SWAN because that name is already used, so we use SIGNA. as a nicely kind of evocative name. I set it up with 3 junior colleagues about 7 years ago now, and by now we've grown organically by kind of members suggesting other people or individual women getting in touch with me. We have well over 300 members now, and we have monthly meetings, and they're not like half-hour or hour meetings, they're 2-3 hour meetings. And we had physical meetings initially, but now we do them online. It really allows academics, female academics from across the world in the general area of business and management to get together and support each other. And we have meetings on things like academic career trajectories, but also research skills like working with big data, social network analysis. We do sessions on publishing, in particular journals. We have done sessions on working with professional staff. So anything you can think of, really. And it gives me a lot of satisfaction to see that I can help junior female academics. And it's been a joy to do.